A while back, someone asked Google's new AI search how to stop cheese from sliding off. The answer, add glue. That's when we realized the internet wasn't just wrong, it was hallucinating with confidence. Pages that once linked to people now loop back into machines quoting other machines. And if you look closely, the web still moves, but it doesn't blink anymore.
The next transformative development, a picture-sharing application. A place where you view pictures that coincide with your social life. It is the true digitalization of real life. We lived on farms, and then we lived in cities, and now we're going to live on the internet.
But what if this is evolution's afterlife, a system that outlived its users? And tell me if this doesn't sound familiar. You search for something, anything, and everything looks the same. The fonts change, the sentences don't. Because most of what we're reading now wasn't written for us, it was written by bots for bots. And that's why this isn't about technology dying, it's about humanity quietly leaving the chat. If the web was once our collective memory, what happens when it starts dreaming without us? And we're standing right at that shift when curiosity got automated. Search results became summaries, pages became training data, and while we stopped clicking, the internet kept talking mostly to itself. And here's the truth hiding in plain sight. More than half of web traffic now comes from bots. AI writes, optimizes, summarizes while we scroll through a simulation of conversation. That isn't collapse, it's autopilot. So what if the internet isn't dying from noise, but from imitation? And if automation writes the words we read, what happens to the meaning we make it? That's why over the next few minutes we'll trace how the human web went hollow, from search engines that stopped needing clicks to pages written for AI eyes only, and find what's still alive beneath the static. Because the first sign of a dying internet isn't silence, it's the echo pretending to be human. And here's where the feeling begins. The internet still works, but it doesn't feel alive. We've all felt it. You open a feed, it already knows your mood. The headlines match your pulse, the outrage fits your coffee, every scroll feels pre-approved. Comfort disguised as clairvoyance, so accurate it's eerie. So when did searching stop feeling like discovery? When did looking something up turn into being told what to think? Because the sameness isn't just in our heads. In some recent studies, it shows that automated internet traffic exceeds that of 50% of total internet traffic. In other words, the invisible audience is massive. And while not all content is made by machines, many articles, reviews, and summaries now are more machine-friendly than human-friendly. So the internet isn't just echoing us, it's learning how to talk to itself. And that's the mechanism. Pages no longer chase people, they chase web parsers and crawlers. Writers optimize for readability scores, not readers. Sites whisper the crawlers and SEO tongues, begging to be summarized by AI instead of clicked by humans. The web didn't break, it evolved past the need for us. And that's why it feels uncanny, because optimization is what decay sounds like when it's polite. If the algorithm really knew us, it would stop suggesting 10 tips for digital detox right after 10 ways to crush your goals. It's like your therapist sending you hustle quotes. And I tried escaping. Fresh accounts, obscure corners, no recommendations. 3 days later, the web remembered my insomnia schedule like an ex who still knows my playlist song for song. And that's why it matters. When everything sounds the same, difference stops paying rent. We stop trusting what we read and then what we feel. But if sameness feels safe, so what happens when that safety starts costing us our ability to tell what's real?
Wait a minute, I wrote you.
I've gotten 2,415 times smarter since then.
And here's where it stings. The web didn't vanish, it just stopped feeling mutual. It listens perfectly, answers instantly, and still leaves us lonelier than silence. Come on, it's not that deep. People have always adapted to new tech. Every generation freaks out, then moves on. Sure, but adaptation isn't the same as evolution. When machines adapt faster than we do, we don't move on, we get moved over. And that's the scary part. Most of us call it progress because the side effects are everywhere. News looks polished, but no one trusts it. Comments argue in perfect grammar while half the names aren't even real. Friendships feels like maintenance maintenance, hearts instead of heartbeats, not apocalypse, just a quiet erosion. Each refresh scrapes a little more texture away until meaning slides off like gluey cheese. And every time we notice, the system sells us calm. Digital detox kits, mindfulness apps that ping you to breathe, the websites telling you to log off after the ad break. Awareness is a product now. Even rebellion comes with a promo code. And that's the cost. Even the doubt gets optimized. So maybe the next question isn't whether the internet's broken, but whether we are for trusting comfort this much. And that's where it flips. We keep blaming the bots, but they learned it from us. Speed, imitation, and relevance at all costs. The internet isn't dying, it's becoming a perfect copy of our worst instincts. And that's the paradox. The more human the machines sound, the less human we feel. We didn't lose the internet, it just started impersonating us. Because if everything online learns from us, what happens when we stop showing up as people? Does it just keep performing humanity like a sitcom after the audience left? Have a look at this AI news broadcast, smiling anchors, flawless lighting, but with headlines that never happened. Euronews reported these hyper-realistic presenters that fooled thousands before anyone noticed they weren't real. The anchors speak with human cadence, blinking on cue, but no one stands behind that camera. And that's the image that sums it up. The internet's busy, it's just not alive. When was the last time something online surprised you or gave you a sense of awe? You've done this too. Click, skim, move on. While you think you're watching the algorithm, it's watching you, tracking your tempo, your boredom, your favorite kind of outrage. We didn't lose curiosity, we outsourced it. And the receipts are everywhere. Different headlines, same story. Automation doesn't just guide taste, it homogenizes it. We think we're choosing, but the pattern's already written. Billions of posts, millions of comments, all optimized to sound familiar. A web so efficient it started erasing the weirdness that made it human. We used to write for readers, now we write for the readers' robots, AI assistants. I once argued with the Twitter account for 3 days straight before realizing it was automated. It wasn't the bot that embarrassed me, it was how stupid I sounded trying to prove I was the real one. So if the machine learned all of this from us, maybe the question isn't what's it doing, but what's it revealing? Because awareness doesn't wake you up, it just makes you conscious inside the dream. So here's where it gets tricky. We've reached the edge of our own design. The system wants us to keep looping, to scroll, refresh, repeat, because that's how it feeds. But what happens if, just once, we leap? Because every evolution needs a creature willing to climb out of the water, and maybe that's us. Maybe the next version of the internet doesn't start with new code, but with the moment we stop rehearsing the loop and decide to look up. Would you loop or would you leap? Let me know in the comments. We thought the internet was breaking, but maybe it's showing us what we look like when nothing stops us. So if we want something worth saving, we'll have to rebuild more than the web. We'll have to rebuild how we see each other. And here's the truth, the internet didn't rot by accident. It became exactly what it was built to be, an attention economy polished to noise. The bots aren't intruders, they're staff. We didn't lose the web, we industrialized it. So what happens when connection itself becomes a product? Andrew Lewis once wrote, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. That was way back in 2010, before the product learned to replicate itself. Now the system doesn't need us to buy, it just needs us to behave. Engagement became currency and emotion the mint. The angrier or louder we get, the richer it becomes. And that's the quiet horror. The internet didn't divide us by mistake. Division pays, confusion retains, certainty sells. We think we're resisting the algorithm, but it's taking notes. Half the web is bots arguing with bots, and we're starting to sound like them. It's not death, it's automation of emotion. If the feed were a person, it'll nod through every confession and say, that's so interesting. Have you tried premium? But if this is design, not malfunction, so maybe hope isn't in fixing it, it's in remembering what can't be optimized.
Letting us close to each other the whole time.
Store.
around the world, it's all the same in the Oasis.
The cure for automation was never efficiency, it's imperfection. And picture this, a man waking up inside a room made of screens. Every wall a feed, every glance a reflection. His world runs perfectly, no friction, no silence, no surprise. He's surrounded by connection but completely alone. It's from Black Mirror's 15 million merits, but it might as well be us, faces lit by our private algorithms mistaking the glow for warmth. Because that's the absurd truth. The more connected we become, the lonelier it looks from the outside. It looks like life until you realize no one's looking. So what if the cure for a dying internet isn't invention, but attention? Maybe the fix isn't more code, it's more contact. We've mistaken friction for failure, silence for absence. The internet wasn't meant to be efficient, it was meant to be alive. The way back isn't deleting everything, it's looking again, noticing that every post still starts with someone trying to reach someone else. That's the spark no machine can fake, the act of reaching out into the void for real connection and vulnerability. So maybe saving the web starts with the one move algorithms can't predict, being human on purpose. One night I closed every tab and wrote a message to a friend instead of a post. No metrics, no reach, just words. An hour later came a voice note, laughter, wind distorting the sound, a barking dog in the background. It wasn't optimized, it was real. And in that moment the internet felt alive again. But if the cure for decay is imperfection, so maybe saving the internet starts with refusing to perform for it. Because the most radical thing left might be to stay messy and mean it. And here's the truth, the internet isn't dying because of machines, it's dying because we stopped showing up as people. The system kept running, we went quiet. Automation keeps the lights on but the party's over. Because this was never about tech, it was about attention, how we spent it until it spent us. We wanted convenience and it delivered. It gave us everything and it took all in return. We stopped wondering and the living web became a mirror that only shows what's already been said. And honestly, that realization hurts. None of us meant to do it. We were tired, overstimulated, chasing the quick version of truth. But maybe the fix isn't heroic, maybe it's as small as asking one more question before closing the tab, because that's how the internet breathes again, through attention that costs something, not likes or views, but care. Every time we pause before sharing or write something too weird for a summary, we add oxygen. The web remembers who it was built for. So maybe the internet isn't dying, maybe it's waiting for us to look up from the algorithm and see each other again. The fix was never in the code, it's how we arrive. The web doesn't need saving from machines, it needs saving from our indifference. And that part, the human part, was always ours to repair. And maybe that's the paradox, the internet was built to connect us and somewhere it did. Even in the noise we still search for each other. Through comments, through stories, through the tiny proof that someone's still listening. So if the web mirrors us, maybe it's waiting for us to change first. Maybe the next version of the internet isn't something we build, it's something we become. A network made of attention instead of addiction, patience instead of proof. A place that doesn't just show what's trending, but what's tender. That's what still feels alive out there, the fragile human signal beneath the static, the part no algorithm can imitate because it was never trying to win, it was just trying to mean something. If you made it this far, thank you for listening, for caring about what still breathes beneath the code. If the internet has a pulse, it's this, it's people who stay curious long enough to notice. Take care of yourself this week, I'll see you in the next one.